Well, hi, everybody. I want to give you a Love Thy Neighbor Challenge update. You might remember that last week in the Video Devos, I said, what do we do in times like this when our nation is divided, families are divided, neighborhoods are divided, churches are divided by political division and by strife, and it feels like everybody's so hyped up on anger and righteous indignation. What do we do in response to that as believers? And where I went with this was, I said, when Jesus in Mark chapter 12, he says, the most important commandments are love God and love people, love your neighbors. So I said, folks, we got a mission from Jesus, and here's the Love Thy Neighbor Challenge. Go to your neighbor, go to at least one neighbor, bring them a gift. I brought my neighbor a gift of chocolates, write them a card and say, hey neighbor, I want you to know that I love you, and even though there's so much division in this world, there's nothing between you and me. We are in this together. I love you. So I said last week, hey, send me your responses. Are you doing this? And I have gotten so many responses. We have got a Love Thy Neighbor army going on in Santa Cruz and elsewhere too. Let me just show you some pictures that people sent me and give you some names. Rene Harrison, who watches in Santee, California, said, we listened to your sermons. I accepted your challenge, and I made brownies for our neighbor and wrote a card and delivered it yesterday. He was so appreciative. I appreciate your focus on being people who represent God as his ambassadors. Matt and Paula Twizzleman said, Paul and I made some English toffee, my favorite, and we delivered it out to several houses this morning with a short note. It was so fun to do. Listen to this. He says, I felt like the Easter bunny sneaking around this morning. Stephanie and Craig Simmons wrote and said, we copied you on the chocolate. It was buy one, get one off at CVS. Okay. Craig and I live in a 6-unit townhouse complex. One of our neighbors is a police officer. We also have a healthcare worker, others that work in direct contact with the public. Here were some of their responses. For real? Wow, this is so nice of you. Oh, how sweet of you. I love these. I'm going to eat them right now. Another said, thank you so much for the sweet card. It made my day. We had to leave a couple on doorsteps, but we'll probably hear from them too. It was fun to do. It brought us so much joy. This one from Bobby and Christelle Harris. Chocolates for an elderly neighbor. Listen to what they wrote. Do you see that in the card? We just wanted to write and let you know we are grateful to live next to you. I love this. Brenda Malfors sent me this picture. She wrote this on a card to her neighbor. We are all in this together. If for any reason you get overwhelmed with all the terrific trials we're going through, please reach out. We can talk our fears and support each other. My pastor made me do this. I love that. Carrie Clark and her husband said, well, we did it. Since I love to bake, I made chocolate chip cookies and wrote a note very similar to your example on 4 cards. And Paul and I and our new puppy, Carly, and here's a picture of their puppy, so cute, delivered them to each home. The response was pure gratitude. Every neighbor was touched by the simple act of love. This is making me cry. Taline Kuyumujian, I'm sorry if I butchered your name there, writing from Glendale, California, said she did it too. Now here's a woman, Pat Emmons. I'm going to leave out some of the details here, but I'm going to end with this because this one really touched me. She said, I took your advice and I loved my neighbor. God has taught me a lot this past year. My journey spiritually has been immense, and it wouldn't have occurred had I not been diagnosed with cancer. A year ago, I might have done this task begrudgingly. Today, I did it lovingly. I went to Cutesy Cupcakes in Scotts Valley, got some, gave them to my neighbor. Although I had no card, I went to her mobile home, knocked on the door. She stepped way back. She asked who it was from inside the door. I said, your neighbor. We're all in this thing together. I wanted to bring you some Cutesy Cupcakes. I then departed, and the door cracked open just large enough to retrieve the cupcakes, and a little voice said, thank you. I feel pretty good about this because we have had a lot of tension. But today, she means between her and her neighbor, but today, by the grace of God, I reached out and loved her. Thank you for kick-starting me. Your sister in Christ, Pat Emmons. Carrie Clayton, who painted this picture behind me, she said she brought goodies. She said she loves to bake. She brought goodies to her neighbor too. It felt so good to be doing something positive. So let's keep this going. Let's keep the Love Thy Neighbor challenge going. Don't get caught up in the vortex of hatred. Obey the two greatest commandments according to Christ. Love God. Spend time every morning, first thing in your day, to love him, and then go out and literally love your neighbor. And I'd love to hear about it. You can email me, Rene@tlc.org. Let's get some positivity going in the name of Jesus Christ. God bless you.